Today, we are going to focus on using tape diagrams to model and solve ratio problems. So we have already practiced creating tape diagrams. We're now going to use tape diagrams to solve different word problems. So in this first one, it says the tape diagram represents the ratio of blue monsters to green monsters you caught in a game. You caught 10 green monsters. How many blue monsters did you catch? So here's what we need to know. You caught 10 green monsters. We're going to put a box around the question that we're going to answer in a complete sentence, which is this one here. So what we're going to do, you caught 10 green monsters, so that means this part that is green needs to be 10. This section for green monsters represents 10. So one part is 10 monsters. So all of these are equal size parts. Every single box represents 10 monsters. So if we're trying to answer this question, how many blue monsters did you catch? If we look up here, okay, we can see we have 3 sections. They each have 10, which is 30. So that means you caught 30 blue monsters, and I would restate and answer that in a complete sentence. Okay, I'm going to have you pause your video and go ahead and try this one down here. The tape diagram represents the ratio of gifts received to gifts given. The gifts received, the gifts given. You received 4 gifts, so you're going to answer this question in a complete sentence. How many gifts did you get? Go ahead and pause your video and give that a try. Okay, you can check your work there. You gave 16 gifts. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, there are 3 bones in a cat for every 4 bones in a dog. So here is that tape diagram, 3 for cat, 4 for dog. That is our ratio. Okay, here's what we know. The cat has 240 bones. Here's what we're trying to answer. I'm going to put a box around this. How many bones does the dog have? Okay, so for this one, we are looking at this entire section for cat, and it represents 240. So these 3 parts represent 240 bones. So if I take 240 and I divide that by 3, I'm going to get 80. 24 divided by 3 is 8, and add the 0. So that means if I take that 240 and split it up among those 3 boxes, there's 80 in every box. And again, what we know about tape diagrams is that every section is the same size. So that means there's 80 in these boxes as well. So now I can answer the question, how many bones does the dog have? Because there's 4 sections for the dog. So if I multiply that by 80, we're going to get 320. So we would say the dog has 320 bones. Okay, let's try another one, but this time we're going to draw the tape diagram. So you will need a ruler for this, and we did this before, we practiced what this looks like. So we're going to draw the tape diagram and then solve the problem. So in this one, there are 8 bones in a large snake for every 3 bones in a small snake. There's our ratio relationship. The small snake has 150 bones. We're going to answer the question, how many bones does the large snake have? So the first thing we're going to do is draw our tape diagram. So you need a ruler, and think back to when we did this. We always use the centimeter side, and we're doing 8 to 3 is our ratio. So I'll write my ratio over here is 8 to 3. Okay, so I'm going to go from 0 to 8, and then I'm just going to move my ruler down. 0 to 8, and then we draw a line at every centimeter so that we have 8 equal sized pieces. That's the large snake. Now we're going to draw for the small snake. So I'm going to move this down, and I need 3. So I'm going to go 0 to 3, and then 0 to 3, and draw a line at every centimeter. That represents the small snake. So we've got the same starting points, equal size pieces, and then we have to label. So we'll call this one, we can just say large, and then we'll put small. The large snake and the small snake. So now we can answer the question. It says the small snake has 150 bones. Okay, so these 3 parts represent 150. So we're going to take that 150 and divide it by 3. Well, 15 divided by 3 is 5. So add a 0 and it's 50. That tells us that there are 50 bones represented in each box. And again, what we know about tape diagrams is that every box represents the same amount. Now you can answer the question, how many bones does the large snake have? So we would say the large snake has 400 bones because there are 8 sections, and each section represents 50. Okay, go ahead and turn your page. Okay, let's look at our next problem. The ratio of your monthly allowance to your friend's monthly allowance is 5 to 3. The monthly allowances total $40. How much is each allowance? So here's our ratio, 5 to 3. It's your monthly allowance to your friends. So we know yours is 5, your friends is 3. The total is $40. And then here is what we're going to put a box around. How much is each allowance? So we need to pay attention to what we're drawing, but also what are we trying to answer here? So let's go ahead and start by drawing our tape diagram. The ratio is 5 to 3. So you're using your ruler to draw your tape diagram. So I'm going to go 0 to 5 centimeters, 0 to 5, bring that down, draw a line at every centimeter here, and then I have 3, so I'm going to bring that down, go 0 to 3, and draw a line at every centimeter. Okay, so this is your allowance to your friends. So put yours and friends. So your allowance and your friend's allowance. Okay, so this time it says the total is $40. So that means all 8 parts represent $40. So since there's 8 parts altogether, the 5 and the 3, I'm going to take the 40 and divide it among all 8 parts to get 5. That means each box represents $5. We know they're all the same size. They all represent the same thing. So the question is, how much is each allowance? So 5 times 5 here, 3 times 5 here. So 5 times 5 for you, 3 times 5 for your friends. So we would say your allowance is $25 for 5 times 5. and your friend's allowance is $15. Okay, we are going to go ahead and move on down here to where it says example 4. You can try number 3 on your own. Example 4, in a 7-game basketball series, a team's power forward scores 8 points for every 5 points the center scores. The forward scores 60 more points than the center in the series. How many points does each player score in the series? So we do have a lot going on here. Let's first mark our text. Okay, so we have 8 points for every 5 points. Okay, so that's going to be our ratio, the forward and the center. The forward scores 8, the center scores 5. Here's what we know. The forward scores 60 more points than the center. And then we're going to put a box around the question we're trying to answer. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start by drawing our tape diagram. It's 8 to 5, so we're going to use our centimeter side. And I'm going to go 0 to 8 centimeters. Bring that down. 0 to 8 centimeters, and then draw a line at every centimeter here. Okay, and then we need the 5 from our ratios. So I'll bring this down and go 0 to 5. And then draw a line at every centimeter. Okay, so the 8 is for the forward and the 5 is for the center, so we need to make sure we label that. So I'm going to write forward, and I'm going to write center here. Okay, so now this is a little bit different than what we've done before. This time it says the forward scores 60 more points than the center. So if you look at the forward, here is what is more than the center. So these 3 parts represent 60. So I'm going to take the 60 and divide it among the 3. 60 divided by 3. So each of these represents 20. Okay, but what we know, again, is that if one box is 20, all of them are 20. So if it asks the question, how many points does each player score in the series? Well, if each of these is 20, you can tell me how many points the forward scores and how many points the center scores. Go ahead and calculate that now. Okay, so the forward scores 160 points and the center scores 100 points. All right, go ahead and do number 4 as well. The tape diagram represents the ratio of the number of planets in 2 different solar systems. There are 8 planets in solar system B, so how many planets are in solar system A? The tape diagram is drawn for you, so go ahead and pause your video and work that one out. All right, and we would say there are 6 planets in solar system A.